We can't make you a morning person, but we can make your mornings better. Switch on to 94.3 Royal FM. The 8 at 8. 8 big questions for a bigger conversation. Sponsored by MTN. MTN. Everywhere you go.
Now, see when you have friends in the building. Joy is so Rwandan but lives in Canada. And she loves to have this conversation on family and mental health. Right? I know you have a company, Family Life and Beyond, company organization where you do your therapy work. Joy, good to have you today with us on Kigali in the morning.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. I would not be anywhere else but here. I love to be in your presence.
Nice.
It's
Nice.
a delight, yes.
Good morning, Joy.
I agree.
Good morning.
And also Aaron, who is normally with us on Thursdays. Aaron also has passion for children and family. And so we gave our Thursday to be a family day. And so welcome to the Kigali in the Morning family.
Beautiful.
Thank you, Jesse.
So Joy, given where you're coming from and that you took our children to Canada, and given all these conceptions we have, that it's very difficult to raise a child from there, Hanze. People say it's difficult. Juliana here would tell you, I can never make a mistake. My child can only go there when she's of age. Maybe 24, that would be great.
Yes.
But when they are toddlers, when they are still preteens, impossible. But I've been watching you, you're raising very excellent, brilliant children. How are you doing it?
Yes. I relate when parents make those assumptions, because I really think parenting can be challenging, no matter where you are. But I think it takes a village to raise a child. So away from, the parents influencing their children, there is also the environment, there is culture. So there's other factors that will influence, how the child will turn up. So when a parent says, you know what, I would wish for my child to be raised in a space where I know or that is familiar, I relate. But science has shown that the adults that we eventually become are primarily influenced by our childhood experiences. And I think the caregivers, the parental figures, are one of the biggest influencers of their children. So the way you show up, the way you talk to them, the space that you create for them, that is what is going to really model them. That's what is going to influence them the most. Yes.
And so for you, you've not experienced any difficulties because you have all the time to be with your children?
No, I have.
Especially being in a place like Canada?
Yes. I do not know any single parent, whether they are parenting from Kigali or China or Canada, that will say that parenting has not been challenging, but so is everything in life. So I think it's our perspective to parenting that will either make the process easier or enjoyable, or the opposite.
But you see, their perception that we get to hear the kids who are raised from, for example, Canada or outside countries, not in the African setting, the way we were raised,
Yes.
have different ways of behaving than us, because we are told they don't get beaten, they have a say, they and I'm not saying and I'm not saying they should beat children or we should beat children, but I'm saying
They can take you to the police.
they can actually go sue. You've seen videos online happening, kids suing their parents because they shouted at them. I mean, we were raised in that situation, and I don't think it was bad as the way the community, the world is trying to, portray it. How do you actually get to raise them the traditional way, which we would call that African traditional way?
Yes. You bit your tongue when you were talking about beating a child.
And I said, I'm
saw
not
you.
saying yes.
So
Discipline, actually, that's the right word.
that is the word, yes. So I think that every culture and every parent is going to parent the way they know, what has been passed down on them. Some things we unlearn because we think they're not good, they're not healthy. Other things we try to learn other ways, right? I am of the school of thought that any child needs guidance and discipline. But I think we need to differentiate between punishment and discipline. I think you can guide your child, you can discipline them, you can put boundaries in place that will help them, through life without necessarily punishing them or hurting them. I think the way we were raised, nothing against it, although I would, if I look back, I think our parents could have done things differently, but also I'm not blaming them because that's all they knew. There is certain components that were quite traumatic. For example, you've maybe spilled milk or your grades are not the greatest,
Yes.
and then you get a huge beating without explanation, without, you don't even
The
understand.
only word was, where do you play at school and you don't concentrate? Chiboko.
Chiboko. So while that could have worked because it was very behavior based and fear based, that really worked temporarily. But I really think, even looking back at my own childhood, that it was quite traumatic. And I think there's other ways, there's healthier ways of guiding a child and parenting them without necessarily instilling fear and without hurting them.
Someone is
physically
going to
or
say
otherwise.
that we are raising softies when you sound like that. There's another way. We have to talk to children and bargain with them. Are we supposed to bargain with our children?
I think that I look at children as little humans.
Yes.
Someone called them terrorists.
That's terrible.
So imagine as an adult,
Yes.
right, Jesse?
Yeah.
You run late for some reason. Maybe there was traffic or whatever, or you something did not go as planned, and then you come through the office and your boss slaps you or raises their voice at you without necessarily, asking, "Oh, Jesse, what happened? This is out of character. What happened?" They did not give you chance. They did not give you a space to share your experience, but instead they just shouted at you or hit you up. How do that make you feel?
Horrible. I'd want to retaliate.
Yes.
Or wait for a chance.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So it's dehumanizing, disrespectful. It creates anger and resentment towards that person. So you may not necessarily say anything back because you're worried or you fear that they may fire me or whatever, but it's disrespectful, dehumanizing, period. The same happens to a child. If they do a mistake or, do something, they're only kids, and then we hit them, punish them, whatever, we shout at them without taking time to really understand their world, it really, really affects their self-esteem.
So question of today is how to raise emotionally intelligent children. How do we raise emotionally intelligent children?
Yes.
And as a follow-up question, is it something that should start at a very, very young age? Maybe this is the moment when we should first hear from the gentleman here, our father and husband to our dear wife.
Yes. Bonita. Say the name.
No one.
Yes. Yes. Thank you, Joy. You made very good points. When I was thinking about emotional intelligence itself, it's being able to identify, understand, and then manage emotions. My emotions and other people's emotions. And the reason as to why I think you are making very good points is these emotions our children learn by seeing. What we do is what they do. You see, Jesse told you I would retaliate. You might find that maybe this is how he has seen things, working,
100%,
retaliating.
Yeah.
And so if at a young age, if I usually, which I call reacting versus responding to what has happened. Most of the times, parents, we find ourselves when we are angry dealing with these situations, and yet in that space, at that very moment, you're just dealing with yourself rather than dealing with the issue which has just happened. But if your child, let's say, spills the milk, and then you, in response, you're thinking about what could have caused that. Maybe they're just naive. Maybe they're learning their motor skills. But for you, you're overlooking at just the carpet. And the process it's going to take you, to mop,
clean, to wash your chairs.
You get it. That's you dealing with yourself. And this child is very innocent. This child is learning, life, So it is very important for us to show this. The way we deal with them is how they're also going to learn to deal with them, with the emotions. Yes.
Joey, I think you have teens, right? Your eldest is
15.
15.
Tough age, I'm told.
Emotional intelligence involves, like he mentions, recognizing emotions in oneself and in others. I would like to know, how do you teach a child to identify and name their feelings, especially when they are overwhelmed or upset?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for defining emotional intelligence. And that's so true. I don't think as parents we can be able to raise emotionally intelligent or smart children without us being emotionally smart. It would be very practically impossible. So for most of us, we have a very limited vocabulary of emotions. And so it's very hard to understand the emotional world when you don't even have the words to use.
Especially in Kinyarwanda.
Especially in Kinyarwanda, yes.
Ukunumbyumva.
Even the way we greet uraho neza. So there is no even room for I am not okay. Amakuru ni meza. Like it's
you can't say nimabi.
Nimabi. So it's almost assumed.
Umeze neza, did you say umeze nabi? Ntabwo ushobora kuvuga meze nabi. You have to say meze neza.
Yes. So I think part of raising emotionally intelligent children is to allow them to identify their own emotions.
Yes.
So for me, what I've done is that I've literally printed emotions. There is on paper and put it on in a space where they can see
like
it.
Like the 10 Commandments.
That reminds me at home how we had 10 Commandments printed.
So I love it. I wish every family has a space where the kids can actually visually see those emotions.
That's a good idea.
By the way, listen, families on their refrigerators, they have the menu of the week. In most homes, I see the menu of the week where a kid knows Monday is for omelette, Tuesday is for A, B, C, D, E.
Yeah.
And somewhere you see a routine of chores they're supposed to attend to.
Yes.
Now, when you bring up the element of identifying your emotions and naming the emotions, which are, just name for me these emotions. I actually have no idea what they are. But anger?
No, I'm actually impressed.
So for example, so I like that idea. So most parents will put so much effort in trying to put schedules and chores and all that in a visual space, but then we neglect the emotional side. And I'm not blaming anybody, but again, we are not accustomed to this, so we have to learn. We are learning these things. So some of the emotions are angry, upset, sad, disappointed, ashamed, embarrassed.
Not in the mood to talk.
I feel like
anxious, stressed out, depressed. Like all those are different emotions. There's so many gazillions of them. So you can go on the internet for parents. There is, nowadays we are in the era of technology. Just type in. There's even for younger kids, there's emoji, like emoji,
how do you feel?
Emotions with emojis.
Yes.
So that could help for younger.
Part of them.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I know
envy is part of the emotion.
Teenagers, when you're raising emotionally intelligent kids, there's a point where teenagers start to disappear from the living room. They don't want to go for family events and they lock themselves up in their rooms. They don't want to interact with nobody. They're just there. You have to knock
You literally beg to actually access
for them
their
to
roles.
open. Are those emotions? Is it a transition?
I think with teenagehood and adolescence, there is a myriad of things happening developmentally, emotionally. The brain, literally, a teenager could switch from one mood in 1 minute to a different mood in the next minute. So whether it's with the brain, whether it's with the hormones, there's so much going on at the same time. So I think as a way of trying to understand our children, it's important that parents do not, parenting a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old is different from parenting a 15-year-old.
You need different books for each stage.
I tell you.
Yeah, the dynamics change. So I have a 15-year-old, an 11 and 10-year-old, but the way I interact with them is quite different because they have different personalities. They're going through different stages of life. They're going through different challenges. So if you have a teenager in their bedroom, that is their space. That is their safe space. I try to bring analogies in real life. If I'm in my bedroom and maybe I'm having my quiet time and somebody just walks into my room, I feel
Like, don't barge into my room. Like,
so I teach my children, please knock on the door before you come in. He said we need to model this. We need to mirror because they learn through what we do more than what we tell them to do. So likewise, I think even a 10-year-old or even a 5-year-old, if they have their own bedroom, as a way of modeling, as a way of respecting their space, you knock on the door and say, oh, hey, what's up? What's going on, depending on what is going on. So it's okay for them to be in the room.
What if they refuse to open the door and you want them to come out of that room? Do you bring out the African parent in you?
So
The time to switch gears?
Even when you're in Canada?
Yeah.
yeah, I think the relationship you have with your child really, really matters. And I think this relationship is built right from day one. So the way you interact with your child, the way you talk with them, the way you respect how they feel, it's that all matters. When they hit teenagehood and they're young adults, the relationship that you have with them is what is gonna continue to impact, the way the dynamics will unfold.
Allow me to just follow up on the teenager. I have a friend of mine who was using laissez-faire parenting style. Yeah. And then his 17-year-old daughter, because they were free, talk to each other like, daddy, you're my buddy. And so this 17-year-old comes back this one evening and says, I don't know what I'm feeling, but I think I have a crush. I have a crush on this boy at the supermarket. And from there, hence, the relationship between the father and the daughter changed. Because apparently from the father's perspective, he says, I do not underestimate any man and what any man can do.
Okay.
So the thing of laissez-faire have to end now. I monitor you, what you're doing with your phone. Is that a right approach?
So I'm glad you brought the laissez-faire. So there is 4 types of parenting. So there is the disapproving parenting, whereby the parent is again so focused on behavior. There's no room for emotions. In fact, when you're crying, instead of trying to dig deeper and understand what is causing the pain, they punish you for feeling what you feel. They punish you for what you're feeling.
My mother used to say, if you just crying for the sake of crying, now you will cry for being beaten.
I'll give you a reason.
Yes.
But we're raised in a hard way.
Right.
Yes.
So and there's the laissez-faire. Laissez-faire just means that there is no boundaries at all. That the child is allowed to do whatever they gotta do
And find themselves.
and figure it out. And of course that is not as healthy. But there is the emotional coaching parent. And that's what we are wanting to focus on today. I don't know how we can raise emotionally smart children without involving emotions. And I think from just reflecting on the school system that I attended when I was younger, the parenting itself, it's almost like there was no emotions involved. It's very militant, behavior focused. It's about the behavior. You need to be well behaved, a good child. I don't believe that there is such a thing as a bad and good child. Every child is amazing. They may manifest unhealthy behavior, but that does not make them a bad child. So with emotional coaching or emotional coach parenting, there is 5 steps to it. The first one is to recognize your child's emotions. Understanding their emotional world. If a kid, I know Juliana,
Yes.
Juliana mentioned that she has a 2-year-old, and we like to brand it as
The
terrible
two.
twos. So
Yeah, but that's how it is.
Yeah.
So the terrible two.
yes,
But she just changed the
Terrible
word for
terrorist.
me.
yeah,
And she just changed for me to stop saying terrible two to terrific two.
Terrific two.
I know. That
Yeah.
sounds good.
There's power in language.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So when a 2-year-old is throwing a tantrum, they are communicating something.
Yes.
A lot of times they don't have the words, and so they are trying to say something to the parent. So it's up to us to try to understand, wear their shoes for a minute, look back when we were 2, maybe we don't quite recall, but try to imagine what they could be experiencing and hold that safe space for them. Help them to identify what those emotions are.
Yes.
And it's important in that moment to be in touch with your own emotions, because it's so hard to understand somebody when you're angry, when you're frustrated. That may interfere with your ability to actually create and hold that safe space.
Is that why they say you have to heal first and get that healing for the sake of your children, because you cannot raise children in a healthy way when you're not healed as a parent?
Yes. Yeah, and I would not say heal first, but try to go on a healing journey, because it's quite a process, and maybe it's a lifetime process. But try to be in touch with yourself
And acknowledge.
and acknowledge.
that you need
Yes.
the healing.
And also look at that emotional breakdown as an opportunity to build your kids' emotional intelligence. It's okay. It's absolutely okay to not be okay.
Nice. Yeah. It's okay not to be okay. Yeah. Sounds good. It's very normal.
Now, you guys come off as if you have attended master classes on parenting. And to parents who are listening to us and they are shocked that how can I be a parent like those fellas speaking up there on the radio?
Yes.
Because they've never bought a book on parenting. You know, a situation where you're trying to raise your children from what you have seen on TV, and then you go back to your parents in the village and they question how you are raising your children, and you find a line of conflict.
Yes.
They prefer you to raise children the way they raised you.
Correct.
And you don't have so much information. How do parents transition from coming from the not knowing how to emotionally and intentionally raise children to a place of this is how it should be done?
I think one would look into what is it exactly that I want at the end of the day, and then what do I have in me that can help me, adapt to this, and what do I need to get from out that can help me even better to be able to achieve this. So if I, for example, maybe like in the environment in which I grew up, I didn't have really tools on how to deal with emotions and how to resolve actually conflict. My way of resolving conflict, when I look back with my mom, was to give space,
Walk away.
And then after like 2-3 days, that's when now you gradually start coming back, be it on my side, be it on my mom's side. You get the point. But now that I've now that I've grown up and now that I'm parenting, I understand that that's not the right part. What do I do? So I have to find ways of how do I deal with my conflicts so that I can pass it on to the rest. And again, I think Back to the question which Jesse raised, different people are going to tell you different things from different perspectives. So I think as a parent, as parents, we need to come back to one place where we at least first deal or understand where we want to end with our children. What is the end product I want in my child? And then I put together different systems that can help me to come up with this.
Joy,
Yeah.
what do you think?
I think every process, every parent is going to have a different process because we are at different stages in our lives. We live in different parts of the world. We have different personalities. So all these factors will influence the way we show up as parents. Now, I think parenting is quite a process. The way I parented my kids when they were little has drastically shifted because they're growing, but I am growing with them as well. The goal is not perfection because there's no such a thing as a perfect parent or even a perfect person. The goal is to really see progress and to go through the process with your child. I think the more authentic, the more real you are with yourself and with your children, that process looks quite different than wanting to just be the perfect parent or to raise the perfect kids, or even just focusing on the outside. Because I really feel like some cultures, it's so much about what the outside world is gonna see through my children, and so parents are so focused on that during that process they lose the person, the child.
I just want to touch two quick questions. We have 2 minutes.
Oh.
There are times when a child will struggle with regulating their emotions. They have identified their emotions, but they get pissed off so quickly, they get angry, they get upset, they throw tantrums, and they struggle to regulate. They've understood the emotions, but they struggle to regulate these emotions. How can parents offer support during these moments while encouraging their children to take responsibility for their feelings and actions?
Yes, absolutely. So the 4 pointers or the 5 pointers, so identifying those emotions, normalizing that feeling that way is okay, empathizing with them and validating those emotions, and then problem solving or setting boundaries. So we are not saying that we shouldn't as parents guide and set boundaries and teach our kids to problem solve, but we are saying that before we focus on the problem solving part, let us create and hold space for the children to understand those emotions and be okay with the emotions. And once they are in a space that is a little bit more regulated, because what regulates the emotions is actually allowing yourself to go through those emotions and holding that space. And once they feel a little bit soothed, then you can now take time to set boundaries with them and teach them how to problem solve.
Lastly, how do you think emotional intelligence impacts a child's success later in life, whether in school, relationships, or even at the workplace?
Because all that is emotions. Relationships are emotions. Dealing with studies, you're working on something, you're dealing with teachers, you're dealing with your peers, you're dealing with emotions. So an emotional intelligence is about you knowing how to manage them. If a child, let's say if a child is in a school setup and there is a fight that has come up and the child already has learned, identified, I am angry, has understood that, normalized it, that it's okay for me to be angry, but then how do I manage the situation? So that emotional intelligence will help them not to be in scenarios where they're going to fight, but instead probably know how to deal with it. Maybe report to the parents or report to the teachers, report to the authorities around. So I think it plays a huge role in all those different areas of our lives.
Actually, research has shown that I think 88%, don't quote me on that, for somebody to be successful, they have to be emotionally intelligent. You'll find, I have clients that come to see me through therapy, super smart adults, but they struggle with dealing with people, with managing their own emotions. Their family dynamics are struggling because they're not emotionally smart. So it's critically important.
Great. We've been speaking to Joy Gihana. She is a therapist and big on family and mental health. She is Rwandan. She's coming from Canada. She decided when I am in Rwanda,
I'll pass by.
I want to be on Kigali in the morning. Thanks to Aaron's initiative on bringing family conversations to the radio. Aaron also here with us. Remember, he has the couples dinner,
Yes.
which is coming up when?
Next week, 29th November,
Yes.
from 6 to 10 at a restaurant in Nyarutarama called Indochine, Bel Ombre Hotel.
Bel Ombre. That's what I love.
Ombre is what
Bel
I
Ombre.
remember.
Yeah.
And we still have the early birds.
I think I can give out my phone number. The early birds, and registration discount ended yesterday.
Okay.
But people can call me on 0784 886 106. That is if you're listening and you want to, to still get that early bird ticket.
Okay.
And slots are filling out so fast. So,
Great.
Yeah.
Aaron, thank you so much for taking time to be with us. Jesse and Juliana, every morning, the 8 at 8 comes to an end.
Kigali in the morning brings you the 8